It's true, bamboo bedding is dreamy to sleep on. That's why Quince aptly named their Bamboo Dream Quilt Set. Coming in 12 colors, you're absolutely going to love this quilt and 2 shams set. Starting at the softest of pinks and going all the way to a dark navy. It's going to be perfect for anyone's room. Your own, your guest rooms, your kids' rooms, maybe even back to the dorm bedding. Quince has everything you need to elevate your space, from bedding to soft organic towels, airy curtains, and premium kitchen tools designed for everyday use. And of course, as you know, Quince has gorgeous cashmere and other wardrobe essentials. And the best part, Quince's products are half the cost of similar brands. They partner with top artisans and cut out the cost of the middleman, passing the savings on to us. Thank you, Quince. And they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, so you can feel good about your purchases from Quince. Elevate your space with home essentials from Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. You're new to this? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Hey everybody, it's Kelly Wilkness here with Anita Joyce, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks. And today we're discussing decorating for newbies. Now, if you're completely new to decorating, come on and sit next to us. We've got a lot to talk to you about. But if you're not even that new to decorating, but you want to learn some more, or if you want to change your style and have some new things going on in your decorating scheme, this episode is for you too. And no matter what phase in your life you have come to decorating, whether you came out of the womb deciding what color your nursery was going to be painted, or whether or not you came to it at a later stage in life, this is all going to be great information for anybody, no matter where they are in their, I'm not going to say it, but you know what the word is. They're decorating, well, I guess I have to say journey.
I think you do. Well, and I'm thinking of today's episode as being the kind of things I wish somebody had told me when I was starting, because when you're new at it, you don't know what you don't know. And so you're going to be making some mistakes. But if you have some good advice from somebody, you're going to get it right from the beginning. So that's what our goal is today, is for us to help you get everything right straight off from the beginning.
If you're new to decorating, we are so excited to have you along with us. If you're new to decorating tips and tricks and new to decorating, well, that's just absolutely wonderful. So we're so glad you're here with us. And if you've been decorating for a while, I think you're going to learn things today as well. And a lot of people approach decorating with some anxiety. It can be daunting. It can be overwhelming. There's a lot to choose from, and it involves spending some money, so that can be stressful. You don't want to make the wrong choices. And so we're going to help you through a lot of that today, overcome the anxiety, fight back the overwhelm, and learn where to spend and where you can save.
Yeah, ready to dive in?
Yes, but maybe before we get going, so we don't forget, let's mention 1 or 2 archived episodes that would be really great to listen in conjunction with today's episode. I think Anita's got one for us.
Well, I felt like Design Lessons That Will Make You a Better Decorator is the perfect episode to listen to. Those are lessons not just for someone starting out, but these are just kind of things to keep in mind to really improve your decorating process. So I think that'll be a great episode, and we'll include a link in the show notes.
And I also thought the 2 that we did, which was when to spend and when to splurge, and when not to spend and when not to splurge. I think we've got 2 separate episodes on those, and we can link those in the show notes as well. So those would be great episodes to listen to after today to really get a well-rounded start. So let's get rolling. What's your first tip for our newbie decorators?
Can you guess? It's photograph your space. I know this isn't the first time I've said it, but it really is very critical that you do this. It's such a key step, whether you're new to decorating or not. Do not skip this step. When you take the picture, you're going to be able to look at the picture. And even if you're new to decorating, I think you're going to be able to see what isn't working in your room. And it is amazing how you can walk in a room, not notice this stuff, but take a picture of it. And then it is front and center. You can see exactly what is wrong with the room. We see it over and over. Clients tell us this over and over again. It is amazing what shows up in the photos. And another reason to do these photos, especially if you're starting out, is to get an evolution of the room documented to look back on. Kind of like when you have a child, you take pictures when they're a baby, a toddler, their first day of school, throughout, and then when they graduate from college. And it's so wonderful to have those pictures, to see them, because they're different as they grow over time. And your home and your rooms are going to grow and evolve over time. And you may even go from one home to another home. And I think you're going to really enjoy seeing these pictures later on. So I think it is very fun to document where you've come from and where you are.
The ultimate tip. My first tip for our newbies is don't sweat over having a style. Everybody really wants to know what their style is, but then you're kind of pigeonhole yourself, because when you look around, if you're really saying a style, right, you might dive way too deep into a particular look. And then it's really not your style. It's a generic type of style, or it's somebody else's style that you've adopted. You don't want to just adopt or copy somebody else's look, or a look that is just so prevalent out there on social media. You want to develop your own style. So don't waste time fretting over what is my style. I mean, people are very tempted to take those style quizzes and to really be able to put words to what their look is. And it might be a good exercise just to kind of bounce ideas around in your head and have some words to put to your vision, but don't let yourself get pigeonholed in a particular air quote style. You want to develop your own style, right? And you'll do that over time. You're not going to buy everything in one day. So don't worry about not being able to say what your style is. It would not be 2 or 3 words. It would almost be like a paragraph, which probably is not surprising to all of you because I can talk a lot. But if someone had me just force me to describe my style, I couldn't say it in 2 or 3 words. And I think that's a good thing.
Well, that's a good point. You don't want to copy someone else. Well, we borrow from people, but you don't want to copy everything lock, stock, and barrel. You definitely want to just pull certain things from someone else's style. And then, like you said, create your own. Because, you want it to be personal. You want it to be yours. You don't want it to be someone else's look. You want it to be authentic. So I agree with you on that. And that actually goes along with my next tip, which is you do not need every cute tchotchke from Target. They have some cute things, but they're like little things usually. And, it's just like every day you go in there, the latest thing is different. And if you're buying all that stuff, then you're going to have a shelf full of stuff that it just needs to be thrown out like 6 months later. So, just be careful with that. I mean, the little things are not going to really show up well in a room. And I think you're just not going to enjoy it later. It looks cute in the store. They do that on purpose. But if it's not your style, if it's not something that's really speaking to you, don't get it. Don't get it. Don't get it just to fill the space. Get it if it speaks to you and you love it, then, by all means, that's different. But I wouldn't just go to them to say, what's the latest thing at Target? And that's what I'm going to get. I mean, and I'm picking on Target, but you know what I mean. Whatever, fill in the blank on the store. Right. So just be careful about that.
Yes. And one of my tips is don't waste money buying the small stuff, which is kind of, tangentially what you're saying too, is that if you're starting out, and if you're really, really just starting out and you need to get some substantial pieces of furniture, all those little things, all those little Target runs, all those little things that you just pick up along the way, they add up. After 6 months of doing that, that might add up to a really nice accent chair that you could have purchased. But you've got all these little things and you can't sit on them. So that's not a great idea.
I don't recommend it.
Don't recommend that. This is a very good tip. They are all good, aren't they, Anita? They're all so good. But this one, I think, is really, really good. And I don't know that we've emphasized this one in the past as much as I'm going to really emphasize it today, is choose the items first that have the least amount of choices in the universe. Are you following me on that? I can break it down.
That's kind of what we say with paint. Choose the paint last, because the fabric, there's more limited choices of fabric for a chair, for example, versus paint colors. It's infinite. So I get what you're saying, and I think there's some value to that. That's a good point, Kelly.
Yes, and paint is the perfect thing, because a lot of times people start with paint. They think, oh, the walls, they're big. That's the big thing. Let me pick the paint color and go from there. But there are infinite different color paints. And you could even have a paint customized if you wanted to do that. But there are so many different paints and shades. That is probably the biggest universe. If you were going to buy furniture and window treatments and things like that, those universes are smaller. So you want to pick from the items that you have the least options with first, and then work backwards to the items that have vast options like paint.
Good points, Kelly. Another thing to keep in mind is know that your style is going to change and evolve over time. Why am I mentioning this? Because I think at some point there's going to be stuff that you bought 6 months ago or a year ago or 5 years ago that you're not going to like anymore. And it may be kind of unsettling and upsetting to think, wait a minute, I spent money on this and now I don't like it. What's going on? This is my style. I've already decided that's my style, but now I don't like it. This is okay. This is growing. This is growth. This is evolving. This is the way design works. What I liked 20 years ago, I don't necessarily like now. There's certain classics I still like, but other things change. This is normal, and I would not be concerned about your style evolving over time unless it's changing drastically every day. Then there's a problem that needs to be addressed, because you're not going to be able to stay on target if it's changing that much. But that is just kind of a normal part of life.
Yeah, it's like your wardrobe. You're not wearing something you wore 20 years ago, probably, unless it's a little black dress, which is a classic. So that's fine. Spend money on the little black dress. Spend money on the really nice neutral sofa. And I'm sure we'll get to tips about sofas in particular, but those are the things you can invest in and rely on over the course of time. But otherwise, things are going to change. I'm sure, Anita, that you've had the same experience in your own home that I have had. You get something, you're like, I just love this. Like, I'm never going to stop loving this.
Yeah.
This just looks so good. And then one day, it just doesn't anymore.
Well, I can't tell you, there's quite a few pieces I bought that I said, these are heirloom pieces. These are classic. I'm never going to dislike these. And then the styles changed drastically at one point, and you know what I'm talking about. And that these pieces were no longer the thing. And most of those pieces I did sell. So anyway, that does happen. So we cannot guarantee, even if it's a classic big ticket item, that you will always want to keep it. Sometimes these things happen, but that's just there's just no guarantees in life.
Well, on that reassuring note, we'll go on.
Well, it does happen. It happens.
Yeah. So when you're new to decorating, understand that that's just part of it. And that's really a lot of the fun of it too. Not that you're going to be getting rid of stuff, cyclically, but things are going to change over time. So you want to know enough to make good choices when you can and be open to the change that will inevitably happen in your styles and what you like and what you want to fill your home with. Definitely plan for decorating. Try not to shoot from the hip. It rarely works out. I really discourage all my clients. In fact, I have a recent client, and she's been really listening to the podcast a lot. Her dog's getting a lot of walks listening to the podcast. And she said to me, and I quote, "I know you say not to do this on your podcast, but fill in the blank. I bought this, this, and this."
Oh, boy.
And then, you have things.
And then you say, listen to this episode again.
Exactly. And then maybe you have a little decor piece, or you have a lamp or something. And now you have to try to build the bigger pieces around that smaller thing that you just loved. But there needs to be an initial plan, and then you fill in the pieces. And ideally, you would start with the bigger pieces and build from there. But you don't want to be paralyzed by the plan and be paralyzed in the planning stage. I see this too, where people just can't get it done. They can't put it in the cart. They can't check out. They can't make the decision. All right. It's going to be okay. And this is part of the anxiety and the overwhelm and some of the daunting feelings that come with decorating. Even if you're not new to it, you can feel this way. You might be putting down a little hefty sum for something. You want to make sure it's right. But at some point, you're going to have to make a decision. So please do plan. And you'll have confidence, and more confidence, if you plan that you're making the right choices and that you're executing the plan properly. But don't get stuck in the planning stage for forever.
So true. So true. Another thing I wanted to mention is not going for the cheapest item. This was something that came up when I was helping my daughter with her apartment. I was helping her find some counter stools, and I found several choices. I knew she was on a super tight budget, so I was looking at less expensive things. And maybe I shouldn't have even shown her this super cheap one, because I was thinking I would not buy this. And I probably shouldn't have even shown it to her. Well, of course, her eyes went straight to the cheapest one. And she's like, "I'm going to buy the cheapest one." And I was like, okay, I didn't really have a great feeling about it, but she did it. And I thought, well, maybe that's just me. Well, guess what? 6 months later, the leg on this counter stool broke. And I said, well, yeah, that was the cheapest one, and that does happen sometimes. So I kind of suggested she spend a good bit more the next time. And she did. She bought some really good quality counter stools. I think they're going to last her for the long haul. Really beautiful in that bistro style that we both love. And it was just kind of a lesson learned. And now she knows something that maybe she wouldn't have listened to if I just said it, but now she knows from her own experience that you don't buy that cheapest item.
Yeah, and if you land on your butt when your counter stool leg falls off, you'll remember that.
Yeah, that would be bad, yeah.
Hey, we'll be right back with the rest of the show, but keep listening so we can continue bringing you DTT. I can't stop using dupe.com. This is an amazing website, service, best friend. I absolutely love it. So you find something that you really want and it's too expensive. It's a budget buster. Then you use dupe.com and you can find almost the exact thing or very similar products for much less. So I was crushing on this incredibly gorgeous coffee table. I had it in my mind. I had it in my Pinterest boards. I had it everywhere, but I just didn't have it in my house because it was too expensive. When I learned about dupe.com, that was the first product that I tested. And boy, did I find some amazing dupes. And I purchased one. So the original was almost $3,000. And Dupe showed me many choices, all the way down to under $200. Now, you may think something this extraordinary is hard to use, but it's so easy. Just type dupe.com/ before any product URL in your browser, and boom, it instantly finds you less expensive alternatives. They even have an app and a browser extension you can download. No account required, no sign up required. It's completely free. That's completely free, free to use. Stop wasting your money on brand names and start saving with dupe.com today. Part and parcel of planning and then being able to move from the plan to actually purchasing some things and getting some stuff into your house, particularly if they're big item purchases, pause between them, right? Live with it for a little bit. You don't have to buy everything at one time. We tell you that all the time. But you can have a fairly significant period of time in between buying a sofa and maybe some accent chairs or a sofa and a coffee table and see how it works for you. Maybe you don't buy the coffee table right away. Maybe you get the sofa because you're not sure if you want a round or a rectangle, or even if you want a coffee table right now. So take a pause. There's no shame in doing that if you're decorating, of taking a little pause. I mean, don't make it a year, don't make it a really long time, but take a pause and then see how that item is working in the room. You don't want to overcrowd your spaces. You want to make sure that that piece is then working with the other items you have. You get a new sofa. Maybe is the rug still big enough? All these things you can take into consideration. But if you just rapid fire purchasing, you're not going to know how everything's playing together and how you're actually living in the space.
Yes. What about if you're bored with your room? And what are you going to do? Are you going to sell everything and start with new stuff? No, you're going to just move your furniture around and try that. There's a lot of things to do that will refresh your room that are not very expensive. And a lot of times just moving furniture around is going to really give you a feel of it feeling fresh and new and fun. And especially if you can move things from one room to another room, that's even better, not just rearranging a particular room. I think that's going to make you so happy. I do that all the time. And when I buy a new chair, I usually end up moving the chairs, kind of a musical chairs thing. Usually every room gets a different chair that was in there before. So every room in my house usually gets a new look every time I just buy one chair. But that's kind of a fun thing that I do and I really enjoy, and it just makes the room feel fresh.
That is fun. I love doing stuff like that. You're like, oh, now it feels so different. Speaking of moving furniture around, well, we did an episode not too long ago about refreshing, like on a dime or something like that. And it was inexpensive refreshes. And I know we talked a lot about moving stuff around then. Just think out of the box a little bit. And it doesn't cost anything just to move the stuff around. You can always move it back.
Yes, absolutely. Another thing to think about is, let's say you have a piece of furniture or even some decorative item in your home and you're really kind of tired of the color, but you still like it. Think about painting it. A piece of furniture you can paint with a brush or spray paint, and a lot of decorative items in your house you could just use spray paint on. We are talking with the spray paint queen here. Kelly, you spray paint everything. I usually use a brush, but boy, have we painted a lot of stuff over the years, and it really is a great way to repurpose things that otherwise you would be tossing.
Oh, yeah. Don't stand still. I could spray paint you. Take into account the architecture and geography of your apartment, your home, wherever you're living. As a newbie, you might not think to do that, but it really does make a difference. I think it can be kind of cool to have a really, really old house and then do sort of really modern inside. But as a new decorator, that's something that's a little harder to pull off. So I think it is a good idea to at least consider the architecture of your home when you're decorating the inside. And you don't have to go full on. I have a Victorian. My decor is not fully Victorian, but I do have antiques and things like that to sort of nod to the period of the house. If you have a craftsman home, you don't have to go all dark and foresty colors inside. You can certainly shake it up, but definitely consider it, and also consider the geography of where you are. So it makes sense. I mean, so, a lot about decorating, it's not necessarily about, the pretty lamp or the beautiful sofa or this or that. It's the way the room strikes you and makes you feel, right? And so if it feels off because you're in a landlocked area and you've done all a coastal decor and it just doesn't work, it's not going to feel comfortable. It's just not going to feel right. So definitely take all of that into consideration when you're making your choices.
How about buying vintage or antique? Now, I know you may have a modern look. Not everybody has a traditional look full of antiques. So I'm not suggesting that you fill your house with antiques if that does not appeal to you. But the thing is, if you buy something antique or vintage, you are going to have a one-of-a-kind piece in your house that nobody else has that you know. Whereas if you go to at the big box store or, just something that's a chain, you're going to buy something that probably someone else on your street has. If you go to an antique store or a resale shop or a thrift store, you're going to be able to find something that nobody else on your street, not even in your neighborhood, has. So I think this is a real way to create a very unique look. A lot of times these end up looking very handed down, and so it gives your house some gravitas, for lack of a better word, just some weight to it in a good way. Like there's some things that you've had for a long time, or they're of value. I think this really adds so much to a home. And like the simplest thing that you can add, for example, would be old books. I think old books on a shelf on top of a console are so beautiful, and they really look great with just about any decor that I can think of.
You've all seen the room that looks like it could be a hotel room, or maybe you've seen those ads for that place Decorating Den or whatever that is. Like it just looks like everything was just taken out of the box, but it's not really that expensive, and it's just kind of all sort of gray and taupey looking. You don't want that. So Anita's tip is great. You do want to add some gravitas to your room. You want to add some patina. You want to add some life. You want to add some soul. And that might seem like, well, how do I do that? But listen to Anita's tip. It's a great way to do it with some inexpensive thrifted antique pieces, some brown furniture, something that's got a little patina on it. That's going to add a lot to your space. I alluded earlier to the neutral sofa, and a neutral sofa is something I would suggest you invest in. If you're going to spend some money on certain pieces, I would spend some money on a nice neutral sofa with great foam wrapped down cushions. I would also spend the money on great window treatments if the budget allowed. And I would also spend money on the most luxurious bedding that my bank account would allow for. Those are three places that I think it's hard to skimp and have it look good. And you do want your sofa to last for a long time. It could be with you for 20 years. And the window treatments, that's something you have to weigh in the balance. Am I going to be here for a long time? Am I renting? So that's something you may not want to invest in until you have purchased a home or a condo or a townhouse or an apartment. And so you know that you're making the investment and it's going to be with you for a long time. So that is an investment I would weigh depending on what my circumstances were. But the sofa, hopefully you could take that with you, and certainly bedding, you could take that with you.
That sofa is such a critical piece. So let's really focus on doing the right thing with the sofa. What about your attitude about your house? I wanted to focus on this for a little bit because I think it's easy to be discontent when our houses are not exactly the way we want them to be. And I think this can really be upsetting for people when they love beautiful design, but they just cannot afford to do it all right off the bat. It may take you some time to get the things done that you want done with your house. And I'm going to have to say that word again that I know you don't like, Kelly, but it is kind of a journey. It's not something that's going to happen just at one time. And I think that you have to see it as the joy is in the process and not in the finished product. So try to enjoy this month or this year, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to add that, and kind of maybe have a long-term plan and kind of enjoy it as it comes together. And I think this is just going to improve your happiness level with your home. I don't want you to be unhappy with it if your home is not perfect. And really, even if you get it to some place where you think it's perfect, something's going to break. There's going to be a scratch somewhere. It just doesn't stay in a state of perfection for very long. That's just our world that we live in. So I don't want you to be so focused on everything being just perfect and your happiness being dependent on this perfection. I think you just kind of can be happy that it's moving that direction and be joyful as things come together and enjoy your life there, because things are going to change. You won't always be in this house or this apartment, and there'll be other things that are good and bad coming, but there's something good about where you are now that you're not going to have later. Just like I told my daughter when she was younger, when she was in college, enjoy this, because yes, later you won't have to study, but there's something about this life now that you're not going to have later. Just enjoy whatever phase of life that you're in.
I love these deep thoughts today for our newbie decorators. But yeah, some great life lessons, and then you can apply to decorating and all else from Anita. That's great. And don't let others sway you, whether they're virtual or real. We talked a bit about this in the beginning, being inspired, yes, copying, no. And I think this also plays into something that Anita was just saying, is that, don't let those other people make you unhappy with your space, right? Find the good, find the nugget, find the thing that makes you feel good about where you are right now. Enjoy the process, as she mentioned, and don't get down because somebody else's room is perfect. Well, you don't know what's behind them. They're taking a picture of what's in front of them, and that might look real good, but you don't know what's going on in the rest of that house, right? You have to take the social media and magazines and Pinterest for what they are. It's not real life. So you're living real life, and you're going along and you're improving your living situation. You're making your own sanctuary, and that is a beautiful thing to be doing, and you're going to be so happy every step along the way.
Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. So Mixed highs and lows. There's nothing wrong with something that you picked up off the curb for free, and then adding in a really gorgeous sofa that you spent some real money on. Have that little free side table in the balance. Maybe you can get to a really good number for your budget decorating this way. You don't have to spend a ton of money on everything. Definitely bringing in those lows, whether it's cheap and thrifted or it's just some cute little thing that you did pick up, but be mindful. You don't want to pick up too many of those little things, which we talked about earlier today. And of course, lighting. For newbies, lighting can be challenging. You might move into a place with only overhead lighting and, life gets busy and you just don't get any lamps. Well, make the time to get some lamps, because that's going to really make a difference. And not just one, have them around so there's movement of the light all around. Maybe 3 table lamps. You definitely want 3 sources of light. So if you've got the overhead, you want some table lamps, maybe you have some task lighting, but definitely try it out. Even if you have money for only one nice lamp, then move that lamp around and see where maybe you'd want to put other lamps and put that in your plan. Or like me, I don't like to spend that much money on my lamps. I think you can get great lamps at really reasonable prices. So maybe find a high-end lamp that you really love and then look for that similar design in a lower price point. That's what I did with the white ginger jar lamp that I have in my bedroom. And I know I talked about this. I might even used it as a crush. It was like a $700 lamp at Visual Comfort, and I got it at Walmart for less than $100. So nice. You can find, especially if it's a simple lined lamp. If it's a ceramic lamp with a nice shade, a white shade, it doesn't have to be over $150. So you can definitely find some great lighting out there. And don't use tiny potted plants. When I say to clients sometimes, and we want to get a plant in this room, and then they show me some little thing that's like in an 8-inch pot. And I think, no, I want a big plant. So a big floor plant can not only fill up a dark corner, it can also bring height to the room. Now, I might be adding a little more stress because maybe you're not comfortable with taking care of plants. Well, I'll tell you that the diva of the plant world that was just so prevalent a few years ago, the fiddle leaf fig, it honestly couldn't be easier to take care of it. Once you get it in place, it really only needs to be watered like once a month. Deeply, but once a month. Yeah, they're beautiful and they have height and they grow I mean, almost like while you're watching them. So don't be afraid of adding some larger plants. That's a lovely way to do it, but just don't leave the nursery pot. Obviously, you want to put it in something, maybe some nubby textured basket, but that is a great item to add, especially if you're a newbie decorator, because of all the things I mentioned. It takes up space, it adds organic element, and it brings your eye up in a room.
Good points. What else, Kelly?
Okay, last one. Know your paint sheens. So if you are painting, understand the sheens. Flat or matte, you've got eggshell, satin, you've got semi-gloss. There are different terms that different companies use, but if you're picking a certain paint, go into their website and click on their sheen chart and take a look and get the right one for that right application, because that can be a mistake that some people make. And if you're having painters come in, oftentimes the painters want to use flat or matte. Now, I'll tell you why. It's not necessarily because it's cheaper, because it isn't really. The sheen isn't really going to affect the price so much. The different qualities of paint within a brand will affect the price of the can of paint. But flat doesn't show imperfections very much at all. Any sheen that you go up, eggshell, satin, and all the way up, you're going to show more imperfections in the walls. Now, why do I say stay away from flat? Because it's hard to clean and wipe down. So if you have a busy area like an entryway, or you've got kids or dogs, or you just entertain a lot, I would stay away from flat paint, and I would go with the minimal sheen of an eggshell. But you definitely want to understand the sheens. You get what I'm saying, right? The painter comes in, he doesn't want you pointing out all the flaws and, oh, touch up here, touch up here, touch up here. Because if the walls aren't perfect, any additional sheen is going to show a little bit of those imperfections. And to my mind, I'd rather live with a little bit of wall imperfection, even if it didn't have to do with the paint job being bad. Just the wall has a little dent in it, or it has a little something from a previous repair. I'd rather see that. And then once you put furniture around, you're not going to see any of that, rather than having the flat paint that you can't wipe down.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, my house is flat, but yeah, it's harder to clean for sure. So, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do flat again next time.
Yeah. Okay. And yours was a new build, so your walls were perfect, right? Mm-hmm. Presumably. So, it's harder when you have an older home. But if you have a home and it's you own it, or you're going to be there for a long time, and there are a lot of imperfections in the wall, or you have plaster, which I have in a lot of the rooms in my home, I had the painters just go over the entry, and I think we did it in the kitchen, that both areas were going to be high traffic, and they were plaster, with just a thin sheets of sheetrock to smooth out the walls, rather than trying to spend the time to make all those corrections. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're getting deep in. We're going to do an episode coming up about painting like a pro, so you're going to get a lot more info on that. And when we do that episode, so what are we defining today?
Beidermeier. I do love a good Beidermeier piece. So this is a German furniture style from the first half of the 1800s. It is often plain and squared in form and borrows elements from many styles, including French Empire. It concentrates on strength and comfort, and it's typically made from lighter woods like walnut, pear, and cherry. So the interesting thing I found out was that the name Beidermeier was originally coined as a way to mock the style.
Oh.
Yeah, so there were two writers, Adolf Kussmaul and Ludwig Eichrod. Yeah, I'm sure I butchered the names. But anyway, they created a character called Gottlieb Beidermeier. And this was just kind of a dolt. This character they created was this character that was middle class and just not very bright. So they were really making fun of the middle class people with this character, which wasn't very nice of them. And so this was a style that the middle class people were buying. And so they just thought, well, we're going to make fun of it. We're going to call it Beidermeier, like as in this is not cool. It's dorky, and it's just not something that you would want. So they were making fun of it. So they decided to call it Beidermeier after this not very bright character they created. But it did stick over time, and now Beidermeier is just what it's called, and it's not meant in a derogatory way anymore. Like so many things in life, sometimes these names that are meant to make fun of someone in the beginning end up being used later in a very positive way. So it's really a beautiful style, and I really associate it with high-end like apartments in New York City and that sort of thing. So I think it's really a very lovely style.
Oh, yeah. I always thought about it as a very high-end look. Yeah,
right.
That's interesting.
I found a really cool article about it that's very detailed that I will link to in the show notes if you want to learn more about the style.
Oh, well, thank you. That's great. I'm going to read that. I love our show notes. There's a lot of good info in there.
I do too.
Before we get to the crushes, we want to let you know, DTT alert. The consult price, which is the bargain of the century, is going up in 2024. So if you would want to book a consult with us for the 2023 price of $150, as I mentioned, the deal of the century, because you're going to get so much great information from us, you need to do it now. You need to do it before December 31st. You can book it, pay it, but you don't have to schedule it until you're ready. So if you want to schedule it into the new year, into 2024, that's fine. And we will get you in at the $150 rate. But if you book it and pay for it after December 31st, it's going to be at the increased rate. We have been told, truth be told, we have been told by more than one consult client that we don't charge enough for these things. And we're getting so many consults booked that we thought, in fairness to ourselves, we're going to raise the price in 2024. I mean,
I think we had a client.
Go up.
I think we had a client say it was like getting Dom Perignon for the price of beer. That's what she said.
That was great, wasn't it? Yeah, it's true. So what's your crush?
Oh, I just got the book Veranda Simply Chic, and it is beautiful. The author is Stephanie Hunt, who is a regular contributor to Veranda magazine, and the book does not disappoint. I kind of opened it and I thought, well, I'm going to see what this is. But I mean, it was Veranda, so I thought it's going to be good. But I thought, let me see, is this going to be worth it? And it was. It is so beautiful on the inside. There are 30 homes that are featured, and they're all high-end stunners. These are not simple homes. These are beautiful homes or elegant homes. And really, I would call these high-end homes, which is what Veranda normally highlights. So there's just so many beautiful, inspirational photos in there. And even if you don't have a home that's in that category, I think there's so many great ideas that you can get from a book like this. And there's a piece usually that you can apply to your home, no matter what kind of home you have. So I think this is something really worthwhile. And I think it's gorgeous.
Oh, good one to check out. Yeah, I love studying the photos of the rooms. That's why I don't like those reels that are happening on Instagram. I like to look at the room and sort of really dive in and pick it apart. And then I always find some takeaway. No matter what kind of room it is, if you take the time to look, you'll learn something. And that is a great exercise for seasoned decorators, but certainly for newbies. Okay, so my crush is a shop that has beautiful pillows, and they even do custom drapery. It's called Annabelle Blue. I'll have a link in the show notes. I have purchased from them, and I actually sent Anita when they were having a sale, and she loved it as well. So I will have the link in the show notes. It's a small shop owned by this lovely woman, and I would love you to explore it and maybe make a purchase from there. Annabelle Blue.
Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us. And remember, we are here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time.
Want to talk to us? Well, we really want to talk to you. So let's schedule a design consult. Anita and I are here to give you individualized, actionable advice on how to create the beautiful home you want and deserve. It's so easy to schedule a design consult with us. Simply click the link in the show notes or head to decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. When we talk to you on the scheduled time, we will be ready with so many great tips, advice, and yes, tricks. So sign up today for a design consult. We can't wait to talk to you.